All right, let's get into this. Origins of Lilith. What is on homie's name? Is that a tattoo or is that a necklace? Like, if it's a tattoo, all right, I don't like it, but understandable. If it's a necklace, isn't that uncomfortable? What is going on?
Seductive temptations, and generally just wreaking havoc wherever they went. They were basically the scapegoats for the ancient world really went off the rails. Over time, Lilith got lumped in with other fearsome figures, like Lamashtu, a demon who had a reputation for snatching babies. This blending of myths created a terrifying archetype, pure nightmare fuel. But let's be honest here, the ancient world women for literally everything. Failing must be Lilith. Bad weather, Lilith. Your toddler throwing a tantrum, tablet, yeah, probably Lilith. It's almost like these guys were sitting around inventing ways to avoid accountability. Now, was this out of fear? Was it for control? Or was it just good old-fashioned patriarchal propaganda? So this is a pattern, a narrative, that's designed to vilify powerful women and to turn feminine independence into something terrifying. And that brings us to the real question here. What does this ancient myth say about us? About the way power, especially feminine power, is treated today? Because let me tell you, something really haven't changed. But first, I want to talk about the version that they don't want you to know about. Now, this one is buried in Jewish rabbinic texts, whispered and mystical out of the mainstream. But according to these texts, Adam didn't start with Eve, because before Eve there was Lilith. So in a book known as the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, written around 700 to 1000 CE, Lilith wasn't made from Adam's rib, she was created from the dust of the same in every way. Yeah, actually equal. And as we know, history, and apparently theology, has a funny way of being allergic to equality when it involves women. But equality wasn't enough for Adam. You see, Adam was looking for a partner, he was looking for someone who would obey him, and Lilith was not having it. This wasn't a minor disagreement, this was a full-blown cosmic showdown. And at the center of all this, a heated argument over who's to be on top during sex. Yeah, Adam demanded her submission, but Lilith refused. You see, in the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, Lilith says, "I will not lie below," and Adam said, "I will not lie below, but above, since you are fit for being below, and I for being above." She said to him, "The two of us are equal, since we are both from the earth." So Adam, with his frown, insisted that he was superior, and demanded that she submit to him, physically and metaphorically. Tense that Lilith did the unthinkable. She didn't just leave the relationship, she dropped the theological equivalent of an atomic bomb. She spoke the ineffable name of God. Powerful, it could alter the fabric of existence, and she transformed into a being of terrible beating. Now let's just pause for a minute to appreciate the audacity of the moment. This wasn't just a mere rebellion. Lilith was walking away from the divine plan itself, a total badass. Adam, now alone and humiliated, goes crying to God, "Lilith won't lie under me. She's gone off and left me." So what does God, does he acknowledge that Lilith is equal? No, he says, "Fine, let's try again." And this time he makes Eve, literally pulling her from Adam's rib like a magic trick, just to ensure that she's a little less, shall we say, free-spirited. Let's call this attempt Wife 2.0, now with extra compliance. See, Lilith wasn't some figure, she was fierce, and for that she was labeled as defiant, everything that Eden was supposed to represent. Lilith's departure wasn't exactly subtle either. She didn't just ghost Adam, she rewrote the rules of existence on her way out. And here's where the story takes a dark turn, because what had 3 angels to chase her down like some kind of divine bounty hunters? They find Lilith in the raging ocean, and they threaten to drown her, but they give her an ultimatum. They track her down and say, "Submit, or we will kill 100 of your children every day." At all, she just says, "Fine, take my children, I'm not going back." Lilith refused to be controlled, and according to the Zohar, God rebuked her and cast her to the bottom of the sea. Now on the surface might sound like a punishment, banished to the depths, out of sight, out of mind, but I want you to think about what water is. The sea represents the unconscious, the hidden, the shadowy parts of our minds where suppressed thoughts and desires live. And so Lilith is submerged into the unknown, into the depths of the psyche. She becomes the power we're taught to bury. But guess what? A powerful feminine force like that is always going to be a threat. And this is where the smear campaign really kicks into high gear here. Lilith, once Adam's monster, a child killer, a seductress, the mother of demons. Now, according to the Talmud, Lilith was believed to stalk the night and get newborn children and their mothers. The fear of her was so intense that people started rituals to keep her away. Amulets and incantations became the ancient equivalent of baby monitors, and to track her down, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Samangala, the ones inscribed on these charms, as a way to ward her off. But it didn't stop there. It wasn't just babies and mothers who had to worry. Men were warned to watch out too, especially at night, because according to legend, Lilith would prey on them in their sleep. Nocturnal emissions. Yes, those. That was said to be her doing, and this resulted in wasted semen, and was believed to be called Lilim. So apparently if you woke up with a mess, it wasn't your fault, it was about semen retention with Lilith around. But let's be real here, does any of this sound like Lilith was actually a threat? Or does it sound more like insecure men projecting their fear couldn't control? I mean, blaming her for your bad dreams and accidents in the night? That feels more like a personal problem than a cosmic one. So why was Lilith demonized? Because she said no. She refused to submit. In history, have powerful women been labeled dangerous? How often has society tried to crush those who challenge the status quo? And doesn't all this sound way too familiar? Because it's happening right now all over the world. Women are losing their rights, their autonomy, and control over their own lives. Lilith's story isn't of this pattern that's happening right now. But Lilith is a long shot. Her story doesn't end with demonization. It's about to take a turn, and trust me, she's not going down quietly. And Lilith is about to have her revenge, because what she does next is insane. And by Adam, God, and the entire divine plan. YouTube algorithm by liking this video and subscribing. You just have to click that. And if you want to go even deeper, become a member, you can access exclusive videos and free downloads to help you transform your consciousness. You'll also find links to my books in the description. Now, just when you think that Lilith's story couldn't get any more controversial, we meet Samael. Who is Samael? Darkness. A being so complex, he's described described as both God's enforcer and the adversary, the venom of God. Pretty badass, right? He's the celestial embodiment of I do what I want. In fact, a lot of people interpret Samael as being Satan himself, or an aspect of Satan. In Jewish mysticism, Samael is the destructive forces of the universe, the shadow of divine judgment. And when Lilith crosses paths with him, well, it's a match made in heaven. Well, maybe not heaven, but fun. According to the Zohar, which is a central text in the Jewish mystical system of Kabbalah, Lilith and Samael's union is called the secret of secrets. And they form what can ultimately be described as the most badass power couple on romantic greeting cards here. Their union isn't about love and harmony, it's total chaos, rebellion, raw, untamed power, and sexuality. While Samael executes divine wrath, he's also judgment. He's the shadow to God's light, the other side of creation. And wild and furious crosses paths with him, sparks fly. Literally, the Zohar describes the bond between Lilith and Samael as emerging from the Sitra Achra, the other side of creation. In other words, the shadow realm, the part of existence that embodies impurity and chaos. But why does the Zohar call it the secret of secrets? Because what's being revealed, a dark counterpart. Together, Samael and Lilith represent a dark mirror of Adam and Eve, and the Zohar describes Samael and Lilith's unity like a red rose. Together, male and female, red like a rose, into their box, well, that gets shoved into the shadowy corners of your unconscious. But here's the thing, just like Lilith refused to let Adam and God suppress her, her story is about reclaiming those buried parts of you. It's about rising from the dark waters of the unconscious. Lilith and Samael aren't just figures of darkness in some old story, they're reflections of what's inside all of us. The suppressed rage, the parts of ourselves we'd rather not acknowledge. Their story isn't about them, it's about us. Because here's the truth that no one wants to admit. You can't have the light without the shadow. And the parts of yourself that you're the most scared of, that's where the real power is. Lilith and Samael show us that it's not about denying those parts. It's about acknowledging them, understanding them, and letting them make you whole. Now let me introduce you to a part of the story they rarely talk about, but is totally badass. That is the 4 demon queens. See, Lilith wasn't out there in the shadows all by herself. She had backup, a sisterhood of terrifying and seductive forces. And these queens weren't playing around. Each one had her own dark dominion, her own chaotic brand of power, and together they ruled the other side. The Sitra Achra thrive in chaos reigns, and among them we find Ne'amah, Agrat Bat Malanim, figures whose legends ripple across the pages of texts like the Zohar, and together they represent the rebellious divine feminine on the other side. So who are these queens? Well, let me break it down for you. Leading the pack, of course, is Lilith, the queen of rebellion and the mother of demons. But alongside her are 3 other figures, Ne'amah, Agrat Bat Malat, and Iset Zenunim, and you can think of them as Lilith's inner circle, kind of like a dark power council. And these women are sometimes called Lilith. Some actually say that they're different aspects of Lilith herself. Either way, each of them brings something unique and terrifying to the table. Agrat Bat Malat is known as the angel of prostitution and is said to have revealed secrets of magic to humanity. She didn't just work in the shadows, she taught others how to use them.
Angel of prostitution? I ain't never.
Shet Zenunim, whose name literally means woman of harlotry, is described in Kabbalistic texts as the personification of sin itself, all the desires that society tells us to suppress. And then there's Ne'amah, who might just be the most infamous of the bunch. See, some believe that she's Lilith's daughter, but the more common interpretation is that it's her sister or an aspect of Lilith. Ne'amah's name means pleasant or beautiful, but don't let her name fool you because she's not just some passive figure here. Yeah, her beauty was said to be otherworldly, but she wasn't just sitting around to look pretty. Ne'amah knew how to use her beauty as a weapon, and she wielded it with devastating results. Her most infamous act? Seducing the Watchers. Now, the Watchers were angels meant to guide humanity. Their job was to keep things running smoothly. But according to the apocryphal book of Enoch, these angels got distracted, very distracted, when they laid eyes on human women. But according to Kabbalistic texts, Ne'amah and Lilith worked together to lure these angels out of the divine realm and into the material world. This was cosmic level seduction, where their beauty was so powerful it literally caused the angels to fall. By drawing the Watchers into forbidden unions, Ne'amah set the stage for the birth of the Nephilim, half human, half angelic giants described in the book of Enoch. And they weren't just big, they were chaos incarnate, taking the foundations of the earth and divine order. Ne'amah's actions were totally world-altering. These 4 demon queens, queens of hell, whether as Lilith's sisters or her different aspects, aren't just villains here. They're the shadows of creation, the chaos that balances order, the rebellion that counters control, the forces that refuse to be tamed. Without them, the divine order would stagnate. Their presence might be terrifying, but it's necessary, because light can't shine without darkness, and creation can't exist without chaos. And just when you think that Lilith's story couldn't get any stranger, the mystics of the Kabbalah drop a bombshell that changes everything. Get this, Lilith wasn't just Adam's rebellious ex, she wasn't just a demon lurking in the shadows, she wasn't even just Samael's wife. Lilith rises to a role so outrageous, so totally unfathomable, that it flips everything that we think we know on its head. Ready for this? According to the Zohar, during humanity's exile, Lilith didn't just sit on the sidelines plotting revenge or doing generic demon stuff. No, she stepped up and replaced the divine feminine, the Shekinah, as God's consort. Yeah, you heard that right. The same God who cast her out of Eden, who sent angels after her, who threw her to the bottom of the sea, suddenly finds himself paired with her as his celestial queen. So take a moment to let that sink in. Lilith hooked up with Samael, which is basically Satan, and God. The woman who was literally banished from paradise turned around and became God's new partner. If that's not the ultimate cosmic plot twist, I don't know what the hell is. So how does this even happen? How does the most feared, vilified woman in mythology rise to take the place of the Shekinah, the holy feminine presence of God? Well, the Zohar makes it clear that Lilith's ascension wasn't just a fluke, it was a direct result of divine imbalance. You see, Shekinah, often described as God's bride, or the feminine counterpart of his essence, right alongside humanity when things started to fall apart. This left a gaping void in the divine hierarchy, and Lilith saw her chance, and she rose to fill that void. She became a symbol of chaos, infiltrating divinity itself, the shadow corrupting the light. Think about it. The woman who was cast out for defying the divine plan doesn't just come back, she returns in a position of ultimate power. Lilith is the cosmic homewrecker, the ultimate outsider who crashed the divine order, and her partnership with God, it represents the infiltration of the Sitra Achra, the other side, the shadow world, into the divine framework. It's as if chaos itself demanded a seat at the table of creation. But what does it mean that Lilith, the so-called ultimate evil, was paired with ultimate divinity? Lilith's rise as God's consort was about the undeniable truth that even divinity itself can't escape the need for balance. Even God has to face his shadow. You can't just throw her to the bottom of the sea. And this changes everything that we thought we knew about Lilith when we understand this. This is within us all, the one front, and can take over our lives, acknowledge her. So let me ask you this, is Lilith actually evil here, or is she the balance that even God needed? A reminder that the divine can't exist without its shadow. Because when you look at her story in this way, it makes you confront a truth that a lot of us find uncomfortable, that the forces we call evil aren't always the enemy. Sometimes they're the missing piece, the other half of the equation. In other words, this is a reminder that the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject are the very parts we need to reclaim, because if we don't, they will cause destruction in our lives. See, the story of Lilith isn't about good versus evil, it's about wholeness. And when we understand ourselves and reality clearly, we come to realize that chaos and order, rebellion and harmony, light and darkness aren't enemies, they're partners. See, for centuries, Lilith was painted as the ultimate villain, a demon, a seductress, a child killer, and she was the ancient world's favorite scapegoat for anything and everything. But guess what? Today has been reclaimed, because she's not just lurking in the shadows. She's light as a feminist icon, a symbol of rebellion, autonomy, and refusing to conform. Now, of course, this transformation didn't just happen overnight. It's been shaped by decades of shifting attitudes towards gender, power, and individuality. As feminism challenged patriarchal norms, especially in the 20th and 21st centuries, Lilith's defiance started to feel less like a scary story, what's happening in the world around us. And her story began to resonate with those seeking freedom from oppression. Think about it. Lilith's refusal to submit to Adam began to resonate with anyone fighting for equal rights, bodily autonomy, or the right to just live on their own terms. Where ancient texts saw her rebellion as dangerous, modern movements saw it as inspiring. She became a symbol of the person who dares to say no, even in exile from Eden. Lilith shows us that sometimes walking away from a system designed to control you is the only way to be free. Then, to find your dark power, come back and crash the system. Her demonization is history's way of dealing with powerful, independent women. It's the same story that we've seen play out again and again. Vilify the ones who step out of line. But here, Lilith didn't stay a demon. She's been embraced in literature, art, and pop culture as a figure of empowerment. Publications like Lilith magazine call her a heroine for the ages, reclaiming her as a force of strength instead of destruction. Writers, poets, musicians, they've all reimagined her as a symbol of resistance against patriarchal control. And let's be honest here, the world needs her now more than ever, in a time when women are still being punished.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into that. So I've heard of Lilith plenty of times. I just never heard of her becoming the consort of God after everything was said and done. That part is completely unbeknownst to me and brand new. And this is the first time I ever heard somebody with this outlook and outtake on it speak so about the positives of Lilith from like a purely academic, relay of an account of the figure, or it's someone speaking of it in a spiritual sense of the corruption. So to hear someone professing how it's positive so profusely is also new. I'm just wrapping my hand the fact that at the end of it, and that she married God. Okay. So we got Elon Musk on here name dropping. He's snitching. He said he talking about names on the Epstein list. What he know about that?
Handed over a couple hundred. But Sean, I gave them a deadline of everything, and a source had told me where the documents were being kept, Southern District of New York. Shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m., thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Cash is also, now that we have Cash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Cash is going to, Director Patel is going to get
and Dan Bongino
a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you.
His smile look creepy, dog. Look like a maniacal monsters.
You didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower firm that there were way more documents that they were supposed to over, and then you found out just before.
You need Doge, is it? Because there's people within these institutions who obey presidential decrees. Do you believe that? Do you remember, of course, who was president when Epstein was killed in prison, or sorry, committed suicide in prison? It was Trump. Do you think that's significant? Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victim names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And the guy had turned over to us. And so all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
I like hearing a U.S. Attorney General go, whoa, like that. You know, it shows that the media environment is altering, the style of rhetoric is changing, and the dialogue has altered. We have a different kind of conversation of power now. We will work out whether it's better or qualitatively different even. But, I don't know, it's better entertainment, isn't it? They're more interesting. Here's Elon Musk confirming that the LinkedIn founder, Reid Hoffman, were Epstein clients. Does it mean they're just a bunch of fancy, sexy parties? Or does it mean there's something more nefarious going on? I suppose what the ultimate claim is what is the power behind Epstein? Why is it we can't have KFK files, really? What is the protected and preserved power that's alluded to and suggested that we, the people, you, the people, if you're American, cannot get access to? Here's Elon Musk on exact.
Kept saying convicted felon, and everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Terrifying they could do it so brazenly. The president for 4 years.
Right. That lawsuit was funded by Reid Hoffman, who is a major Dem donor, and also an Epstein client. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
It's just, it's so blatant.
So the instruments of justice are being wielded by, funded by maneuverable interests. Something like justice, which you think of as being objective, along with the media, which we thought of as a conduit. That the point of media was to hold the powerful to account, to report to the populare, the people, us, what the powerful are up to. Now we know that the media is a corrupted vessel funded by Bill Gates, and now we know that the judiciary appears to be manipulated by powerful interests as well. Isn't that fascinating?
It's like so obvious. The SpaceX lawsuit, the Trump stuff, it's so obvious.
Yes. Like known Epstein clients who are obviously extremely powerful, they're powerful politically and very wealthy, are, you know, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and Reid Hoffman. And some others too, but those three. So, you know, why was Reid Hoffman so intent on destroying Trump?
List coming out?
Yeah, one of the reasons. Yeah.
Happens when you get confident people on a podcast pauses. Me? No, Dad. I'm not saying I'm not confident. I don't like a pause. Not in a podcast.
So,
I mean, so
it's so frustrating to be sitting in a situation where the list isn't coming out.
Well, tomorrow might.
Well, I mean, why'd they release bullshit today? Giving these people like a happy folder to wave around in front of the thing in it that's new. Doesn't make any sense.
Like I said, it's the tough thing that they've got is, you know, they've been made captain of a ship.
Right.
So don't have like, you know, so like, you have like magical powers. You get made captain of a ship with a hostile crew. You still have a hostile crew.
Right.
You've got to bring in people who are going to be helpful as opposed to
Right.
Where's the list? Give us a list. Give us a list. One person who ain't shy about giving their opinion is Candace Owens. Her claim is that the Epstein list pertains to Mossad and therefore Israeli activity. And ultimately, Epstein was a kind of a marionette of Israel's interest. Let's have a look at what Candace Owens says. I've not watched her on this yet.
So what do you think is going on with the stringing along of the release of the Epstein files? I'm a bit disappointed, and I find it slightly alarming of the promises being made and the promises not being kept. I gave my take on this yesterday, Christina. If you go back and watch it in the comments, or I think we actually covered it, but we're never going to see it because too many powerful people are involved in it, and also it implicates Israel, and we never see any files that could potentially.
Whoa, it implicates Israel. I hadn't heard that part. I mean, I did believe that it just had way too many powerful, rich people's names on it for them to fully disclose it. I do believe that, but saying that it implements Israel, I mean, look, a lot of powerful people were intertwined, including royalty. We already know that, and we know British royalty. I mean, to a certain extent. So to say that it expanded further than just that, I'm not surprised. But to say we'll never know because of that, I guess I'm also not too surprised.
Implicate Israel. That's my take on it. So put it out of your mind. It's never going to happen. Helder writes, deep down, we always knew that we were being lied to. Now we have access to everything, giving them no room for lies. You do an amazing job at making them look like clowns. Facts. Congratulations on 4 million. Yeah, and this is why they hate me. This is why someone as creepy and weird as EJ writes these sorts of articles, because now we have a way to get around the mainstream media, and I'm giving you the documents. You can go fact check this yourself. I don't consider myself to be an authority on this stuff. I consider you guys to be my colleagues, and we're all researching and we're learning together. And if we get something wrong, we can pivot and we can say, okay, that was wrong. We covered this last week. Here's how we can patch that and fix it. And I just think the era, that's what you want to call it, of people looking up to reporters as if they're honest and truthful and non-biased is just completely over. Right and left, we know that that is just not the circumstance, and that it's going to require us to start thinking critically and to continue to think critically, even about the people that you follow like me. Like, just fact check stuff yourself, make sure everything is real. And yeah, I think that's all that we can really offer.
Where's the Epstein lists? Where are they? Where are they? Let me know in the comments and chat if it's provoked some kind of doubt in you not to get these lists outright and straightforward. Let me know if it causes you to doubt this new political moment. If we don't get the Epstein list, it suggests that the Epstein list contains information that would disrupt power in its current form. One of the things that's exciting about the MAGA, Maha populist movement is the idea that anti-establishmentism is in the heart of the establishment. Hence Doge, hence Bobby Kennedy, an Edgelands figure in the heart of government, hence Cash Patel at the FBI, Dan Bongino, our own, at the FBI. It's an extraordinary fluctuation. If we don't get the Epstein list, it suggests that there is some power that can't be commented on. And Candace Owens' diagnosis is that that power is the influence of Israel's political agenda on American domestic politics. That's an interesting take. I wonder if it goes even beyond that. What you think in the comments and the... I've always believed in empowering free speech voices. Donuts to
All right, we're about to move on to Nikola Tesla.